conversation from 3 days ago, something you should have said, something you wish you hadn't, an email you need to send tomorrow that isn't written yet, a decision that doesn't have a deadline but your mind has decided tonight is the night to resolve it, a version of a future situation, one that doesn't exist yet may never exist, playing out in full detail behind your eyes while the rest of the world sleeps. You try to redirect. You stare at the ceiling, you shift position, you check the time, realize how late it is and feel the specific anxiety of knowing you need to sleep. But now you're anxious about not sleeping, which makes sleeping feel even further away. And underneath all of it, quiet but persistent, is a feeling you don't always have a name for. Not quite fear, not quite sadness. Something that lives in the space between the day that just ended and the person you're still trying to figure out how to be. That is not insomnia. That is not anxiety in the clinical sense. That is something much more specific. And it is far more common, far more understandable, and far more meaningful than most people ever get told. The advice people receive for this is almost always the same. Put your phone down earlier. Try a sleep routine. Write in a journal. Stop drinking caffeine after 2. Breathe slowly. Count backwards from 300. Some of those things help with some people some of the time. But none of them explain why this happens, and without understanding why, you're just managing symptoms. White-knuckling your way through nights without ever understanding what the nights are actually telling you. Because here's what nobody says. The mind that won't stop at night is not malfunctioning. It is doing something very deliberate. Something it was shaped to do. Something that, once you understand it, stops feeling like a curse and starts feeling like something you can actually work with. This is the psychology of people who can't stop thinking at night. There is a system in the brain called the default mode network. It is the network that activates when you are not focused on a specific external task. When you are not driving, not working, not in a conversation that demands attention. When external stimulation drops, this network comes online and the brain shifts into a different kind of processing. It begins to review, to simulate, to connect things that haven't been connected yet. For most people, this happens in brief windows. A few moments in the shower, a quiet walk, the space between tasks. But nighttime is different. Nighttime removes everything. No screen pulling at your attention, no conversation to respond to, no task to complete, no sound that needs interpreting. The environment becomes almost completely stripped of input. And into that silence, the default mode network expands. It fills the available space. And for a mind that has spent all day holding things at a manageable distance, that is when the distance collapses. Darkness does something specific to emotional experience. Research in psychology consistently shows that when visual input is reduced, the brain compensates by amplifying internal signals. In simple terms, the thought that was a quiet hum at 3 in the afternoon becomes something louder, not because the thought is more important, because the environment has been stripped of everything that was quietly competing with it. The brain at night is not just searching for answers, it is searching for meaning. Meaning is about something deeper, what this says about you, what your life is becoming, whether you are enough, whether you are safe, whether the things you want are still reachable. The mind at night is not anxious about your schedule. It is anxious about your life. And it doesn't know how to say that directly, so it circles. The time when everything goes quiet is not necessarily the time when everything is safe. The vigilance that makes nights difficult is the same system that makes them unusually aware during the day. Here is the part that tends to surprise people. The thinking you do at night feels like it is in service of control. If you can just figure out the right answer, if you can just resolve the uncertainty, predict the outcome, process the conversation correctly, the thinking will stop and you can rest. That is what the mind is promising. That is the bargain it offers every night. But the bargain is not real, because the thinking is not actually looking for a specific answer. It is looking for a feeling of safety, and safety is not something a thought can produce. The irony is this: the more you think at night, the less resolved you feel. Not because thinking is wrong, but because what you are looking for cannot be found in another thought. The mind keeps searching because it genuinely believes the answer is one more loop away. It is not being difficult. It is being loyal to the only strategy it was ever taught. So if you lie awake at night and the thoughts do not stop, you are not broken. You are not weak. You are not someone who simply needs better habits. You are someone whose mind learned at some point that the world required a particular kind of attention. that certain things needed to be tracked, that being caught off guard was something worth working to avoid. The nights are not evidence of something wrong with you. They are evidence of a mind that never fully received the message that it is allowed to rest. And that is not something you fix by counting backwards from 300. That is something you begin to shift by understanding it, by meeting it with a different quality of attention than frustration or resistance, by recognizing that the part of you that thinks all night is not your enemy. It is the part of you that was always trying to keep you one step ahead of whatever came next. If this felt familiar, there's a reason for that, because this isn't just about the night, it's about the part of your mind that never learned when it was safe to stop. And once you begin to understand that, everything starts to look a little different.